China, a civilization that has outlived every empire that tried to conquer it, a land that invented paper, printing, gunpowder, and the compass, and then watched the world it gave those gifts to come knocking at its gates with cannons. For more than 5,000 years, China has risen, fallen, fractured, and reunited. It has been ruled by god-kings and peasant rebels, by foreign horsemen and homegrown emperors, by philosophers and warlords, by communists and capitalists wearing the same red flag. What began as scattered villages along the muddy banks of the Yellow River became the Middle Kingdom. A civilization so vast, it believed itself to be the center of the world. And for most of human history, it was. China built the longest wall ever raised by human hands. It launched fleets that dwarfed Europe's centuries before Columbus. It produced silk so fine that Roman emperors paid for it in gold, and porcelain so precious that we still call it China today. It survived Mongol invasion. It survived the Black Death. It survived 100 years of humiliation, civil war, revolution, and famine. And in our own lifetime, it has risen again to challenge the world. This is the story of the oldest continuous civilization on Earth. 5,000 years of dynasties, dragons, and destiny. This is the entire history of China. The story begins in the lowest valleys of the Yellow River, where the soil is yellow, the water is yellow, and even the wind tastes of dust. According to legend, 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors taught the people how to farm, how to write, and how to weave silk. Among them was the Yellow Emperor, Huangdi, the mythical ancestor of every Chinese person who would ever live. Whether he existed or not, his shadow still falls across the country. The first dynasty, the Xia, rises around 2100 BC. For centuries, it was dismissed as myth, until archaeologists at early II pulled bronze vessels and palace foundations from the earth, and the legend became history. Around 1600 BC, the Shang seize power. They build cities of rammed earth. They cast bronze ritual vessels so intricate that modern foundries still struggle to copy them. And they leave behind something extraordinary: oracle bones, tortoise shells, and ox scapulae cracked over flame and read like fortune cards. The questions scratched into them about war, harvest, dreams, become the oldest written Chinese in existence. From those cracks, an entire civilization learns to write. But the Shang grow cruel. They drink from cups made of skulls. They bury servants alive with their kings. And in 1046 BC, a smaller western tribe, the Zhou, marches on the capital. Their leader, King Wu, declares that heaven itself has turned its face away from the Shang. He calls it the Mandate of Heaven. It is one of the most important ideas in Chinese history. From this moment on, every emperor who rules China rules only with heaven's permission. When floods come, when famine strikes, when rebellion succeeds, it is proof that heaven has revoked the mandate. Power is divine, but power is also conditional. The Zhou rule longer than any dynasty that ever will, nearly 800 years. But by 770 BC, their grip is slipping. Local lords carve the country into competing states. Armies grow, loyalties shrink. The map of China fractures into a chessboard of rival kingdoms. And then, in the chaos, something miraculous happens. The mind of China wakes up.
Along the dusty roads between warring capitals,
Wandering teachers begin asking the deepest questions a civilization can ask. How should we live? How should we govern? What is virtue? What is the way? A quiet librarian named Kongzi, known to the West as Confucius, teaches that society holds together through respect. Child to parent, subject to ruler, ruler to heaven. He fails in his own lifetime, but his words, collected by students, will guide China for the next 2,500 years. A reclusive sage named Lao Tzu rides off into the mountains and leaves behind the Tao Te Ching, a slim book of paradoxes that becomes the founding text of Taoism. The way that can be spoken, he writes, is not the eternal way. A general named Sun Tzu writes The Art of War, and 25 centuries later, CEOs in Manhattan and generals in Moscow still keep it on their shelves.
this is the 100 schools of thought.
Confucians, Taoists, legalists, Mohists, every philosophy that will ever shape East Asia is born in this single fevered century, while armies burn the fields outside the philosopher's windows. The Warring States period grinds on for 250 brutal years. Iron weapons replace bronze. Crossbows turn battle into slaughter. Soldiers number in the hundreds of thousands. The body counts are staggering. China is desperate for a unifier. In the West, a cold, ruthless kingdom called Qin is sharpening its swords. The storm is about to break. In 221 BC, a king named Ying Zheng does what no one in history has done before. One by one, he crushes the 6 rival kingdoms. When the last sword falls, all of China, for the first time, answers to a single man. He gives himself a new title. Not king, not lord. Huangdi, first emperor. Qin Shi Huang. What he does in the next 11 years reshapes the world. He standardizes the writing system so that a merchant in the south can read a decree from the north. He standardizes the width of cart axles so that every road in the empire fits every wagon. He standardizes weights, measures, currency, even the laws. He burns the books of philosophers who disagree with him and buries scholars alive who dare to argue. He builds roads. He builds canals. He links existing border walls into one continuous defense against the northern nomads, the first Great Wall. And beneath a mountain in Xi'an, he prepares for death by commissioning an army, not of men, of clay. 7,000 life-sized warriors, horses, chariots, generals, each face unique, each weapon real. The terracotta army, buried for 2,000 years until a farmer digging a well in 1974 strikes a pottery head and changes archaeology forever. But Qin Shi Huang's empire is built on terror, and terror does not outlive its tyrant. He dies in 210 BC, paranoid and chasing the elixir of immortality. Within 4 years of his death, the Qin Dynasty collapses in flames. From the ashes rises a peasant. His name is Liu Bang. He was a minor village official, fond of drink, fonder of laughter, and in 202 BC, he founds the dynasty that will define what it means to be Chinese, the Han. For 4 centuries, the Han rule. They are so foundational that to this day, the majority ethnic group of China call themselves Han Chinese. The language is Hanyu. The writing is Hanzi. An entire civilization is named after them.
Under the Han,
Confucianism becomes state doctrine. Imperial examinations begin to select officials by merit rather than birth, an idea that won't reach Europe for another 1500 years. Paper is invented. The seismograph is invented. The wheelbarrow, the rudder, the blast furnace, all Chinese, all centuries ahead of the West. And then there is the road. Emperor Wu of Han, ambitious and restless, sends an envoy named Zhang Qian on a mission so distant that the man is presumed dead. 13 years later, Zhang Qian walks back through the palace gates with maps of kingdoms no Chinese had ever heard of. Persia, India, the edges of Rome. The Silk Road is born. For the next 1,000 years, camel caravans will carry Chinese silk west and Roman gold east. With them, travel ideas. Buddhism creeps in from India, taking roots so deep that it will become one of the 3 great Chinese religions.
but empires breathe in cycles.
Land is hoarded by the rich, peasants starve, eunuchs plot in the palace, warlords sharpen their knives. In 220 AD, the Han Dynasty shatters. China splinters again into 3 rival kingdoms, an age of warriors and warlords so dramatic that 14 centuries later, it will be turned into the most beloved novel in Chinese literature, Romance of the 3 Kingdoms. But this fracture will last centuries, and before unity returns, China will be unrecognizable. For nearly 400 years after the Han, China is a battlefield. The 3 kingdoms collapse into the chaos of the 16 kingdoms. Nomadic tribes from the north, Xiongnu, Xianbei, Jie, pour across the Yellow River. They sack the old capitals. They take Chinese wives. They learn Chinese customs. And slowly, generation by generation, the conquerors become the conquered, absorbed into the great patient body of Chinese civilization.
This is the secret of China.
It does not always defeat its invaders. Sometimes it simply outlasts them. It digests them. In 581, a general named Yang Jian reunites the country and founds the Sui dynasty. The Sui are brief, only 37 years, but they leave one staggering achievement: the Grand Canal. Over 1,000 miles of waterway linking the rice fields of the south to the political heart of the north. Millions of laborers die digging it, but for 1,400 years afterward, it will be the artery of China. And then comes the dynasty that will define Chinese civilization at its most luxurious, most cosmopolitan, most confident peak: the Tang. From 618 to 907, the Tang rule a China that is the most powerful, most populous, and most sophisticated society on Earth. Their capital, Chang'an, modern Xi'an, is a city of 1 million people, when London is a muddy village of 10,000. In Chang'an's Western market, you can buy Persian carpets, Indian incense, African ivory, Korean ginseng. You can hear Sogdian musicians and Arab traders haggling beside Tibetan monks. The Tang are not afraid of the foreign. They drink wine from Samarkand and ride horses from the steppes. The empress wears makeup invented in Persia. Poetry explodes. Li Bai writes verses about the moon and wine while wandering drunk through mountain villages. Du Fu writes of war and suffering with such precision that critics call him the sage of poetry. Their lines are still memorized by every Chinese schoolchild today. Buddhism reaches its peak. The monk Xuanzang journeys overland to India and returns 17 years later with hundreds of sutras. A real expedition so legendary it inspires the novel Journey to the West. And then comes a figure unlike any other. In 690, after decades of palace intrigue, a former concubine named Wu Zetian seizes the throne for herself. Not as regent, not as queen mother, as Huangdi, emperor, the only woman in 2,000 years of Chinese history to rule openly in her own name. She purges her rivals. She promotes scholars by merit. She expands the empire west. Confucian historians, horrified by a female ruler, paint her as a monster. But the dynasty thrives under her. After Wu, the Tang sail into their golden afternoon under Emperor Xuanzong, patron of poets, lover of music, builder of the Pear Garden, the first imperial academy of performing arts. And then he falls in love. Her name is Yang Guifei, the most beautiful woman in China. The emperor becomes so besotted that he neglects the empire. Her family rises to power. In 755, a general of mixed Sogdian and Turkic blood, An Lushan, raises the largest rebellion the world has ever seen. The figures are staggering. Some historians estimate that 36 million people die in the An Lushan rebellion. At the time, perhaps 1/6 of the entire human population of Earth. The Tang survive, but they are broken. A century later, the dynasty falls. China is fractured once more. But brilliance is about to return. Quieter this time, but more inventive than ever. In 960, a respected general is forced, quite literally, by his own troops to put on the yellow imperial robe. His name is Zhao Guangyin. He founds the Song dynasty. The Song will never be as militarily powerful as the Tang, but in almost every other measure, they surpass them. This is China's age of invention. The Song give the world movable type printing, 400 years before Gutenberg. They give the world the magnetic compass, paper money, mechanical clocks, the iron blast furnace, the stern post rudder, and gunpowder weapons, flamethrowers, exploding bombs, the first true firearms. Song cities are bigger than anything in Europe. Kaifeng, the capital, has 1 million inhabitants, paved streets, restaurants open all night, public theaters, fire brigades, and printed newspapers. A Song landscape painter, working in ink on silk, depicts mist drifting through mountains with such delicacy that the paintings still feel modern 1,000 years later. But to the north, on the cold steppes of Mongolia, a child is born around 1162. His name is Temujin. The world will know him as Genghis Khan. By the time he dies in 1227, he has united the Mongol tribes and conquered an empire stretching from Korea to Persia. His grandson, Kublai Khan, finishes the job. In 1279, the last Song emperor, a child of 7, is carried into the sea by his loyal minister, choosing drowning over surrender. The Song are extinguished. For the first time in history, all of China is ruled by a foreign conqueror, the Yuan dynasty. Kublai builds a new capital in the north, Khan Balik, the city of the Khan. We know it today as Beijing. A Venetian named Marco Polo arrives at his court and returns to Europe with stories of paper money, coal-burning cities, and a wealth so vast no one believes him. But the Mongols are warriors, not bureaucrats. They tax cruelly. They keep the Han at the bottom of a racial caste. Plague, Perhaps the same Black Death that will soon devastate Europe sweeps the land. Floods drown the Yellow River valleys. Rebellions ignite. And from the ranks of the rebels rises a beggar. His name is Zhu Yuanzhang, orphan, Buddhist novice, bandit, warlord, and in 1368, emperor. He founds the Ming. For nearly 3 centuries, the Ming rule a confident, prosperous, deeply Chinese empire. They rebuild and extend the Great Wall. The version that tourists climb today is mostly Ming. They construct the Forbidden City in Beijing. 980 buildings, 9,000 rooms, ringed by purple walls and golden tiles, forbidden to all but the emperor's household for 500 years. And in 1405, they launch the most extraordinary naval expedition the world has ever seen. A Muslim eunuch admiral named Zheng He set sail with a fleet of 300 ships, some of them 400 feet long, larger than anything in Europe. He carries 28,000 men. He sails to Vietnam, Java, India, Arabia, and East Africa. He brings back giraffes. He brings back ambassadors. He brings the world tribute to the Ming court. 87 years before Columbus stumbles into the Caribbean with 3 small boats, China rules the seas. And then, astonishingly, China stops. The court burns the records. The ships rot in the harbors. A new emperor decides that the sea is a distraction. China turns inward, closes its doors, and looks only at itself. It is one of the great what-ifs of human history. While China sleeps, Europe is waking up. Cannons, sailing ships, gold lust, gunpowder armies. The world is changing fast. And from the north, again, a new conqueror is coming. In 1644, rebels seize Beijing. The last Ming emperor walks into the imperial garden, writes a final note, and hangs himself from a tree. Into the chaos pour the Manchus, a people of the northeastern forests. They sweep south, take Beijing, and declare a new dynasty, the Qing. Like the Mongols, they are foreigners. But unlike the Mongols, they will rule for nearly 300 years. Under the Qing, China reaches its largest territorial extent in history. Tibet, Xinjiang, Mongolia, Taiwan, all brought into the imperial fold. The first 3 Qing emperors, Kangxi, Yongzheng, and Qianlong, preside over more than a century of stability and prosperity. The population triples from 150 million to 450 million. Porcelain, silk, and tea flood the markets of Europe. But under the golden surface, the empire is brittle. The Qing court grows complacent. Corruption rots the bureaucracy. While Europe industrializes, China remains an agrarian giant, immense but slow. And the West wants what China makes. By the early 1800s, Britain is buying so much Chinese tea that its silver reserves are draining east. So British merchants, backed by their government, find something the Chinese will buy in exchange. Opium, grown in British India, smuggled into China by the chest, by the ton, by the boatload. Millions of Chinese become addicted. The emperor finally cracks down. In 1839, a brave commissioner named Lin Zexu seizes 20,000 chests of British opium and burns them on the beach at Humen. Britain responds with warships. The First Opium War is a slaughter. British steam-powered gunboats annihilate Chinese junks. The Treaty of Nanjing in 1842 forces China to pay an enormous indemnity, open 5 ports to British trade, and hand over a barren rocky island called Hong Kong. It is the beginning of what Chinese call Bainian Guoqi, the century of humiliation. A second Opium War follows. British and French troops march into Beijing in 1860 and burn the Summer Palace, a complex of pavilions and gardens that had been the wonder of Asia. For a week, the smoke darkens the sky over the capital. Inside, the empire convulses. The Taiping Rebellion erupts in 1850, led by a failed civil service candidate who believes he is the younger brother of Jesus Christ. By the time it is crushed in 1864, somewhere between 20 and 30 million people are dead. It is the bloodiest civil war in human history. The Qing limp on, propped up by an extraordinary figure, the Empress Dowager Cixi, concubine, regent, ruler in all but name, brilliant, ruthless, and ultimately too late. In 1894, Japan, long the small student of Chinese civilization, invades and humiliates the Qing fleet. Korea is lost. Taiwan is lost. In 1900, foreign troops occupy Beijing again to crush the Boxer Rebellion. The Empress Dowager flees in a peasant cart. By 1908, she is dead. Her chosen successor is a frightened 2-year-old boy named Puyi. He will be the last emperor of China. In 1911, a wave of uprisings spreads from the south. The army goes over to the rebels. On February 12, 1912, Puyi's regents sign the abdication. After more than 2,000 years, the imperial system is finished. The dragon throne is empty. But what comes next will not be peace. It will be the most violent century in Chinese history. The Republic of China is born in idealism and immediately collapses into chaos. Its founder, Sun Yat-sen, is a doctor, a dreamer, a man who has spent his life in exile organizing for this moment. He becomes the first provisional president, but within months, he hands power to a military strongman, Yuan Shikai, who promptly tries to make himself emperor. Yuan dies in 1916, and China dissolves into the warlord era. Generals carve up provinces like kingdoms. Bandits rule the countryside. Foreign concessions thrive in the coastal cities while the interior starves. On May 4, 1919, students in Beijing pour into the streets, furious that the Treaty of Versailles has handed Chinese territory to Japan. The May 4th movement is born, a hunger for science, democracy, and a new China. From these classrooms, 2 great political forces emerge. The nationalists, the Kuomintang, Tang, led after Sun's death by a military officer named Chiang Kai-shek, and the communists, founded in 1921 in a small house in Shanghai. One of their early members is a librarian from Hunan, the son of a peasant. His name is Mao Zedong. At first, the 2 parties ally. Together they march north and reunify much of China. Then, in 1927, Chiang turns on his communist allies and slaughters them in the streets of Shanghai. The civil war begins. The communists are nearly wiped out. In 1934, encircled in the south, the survivors break out and march. 6,000 miles, across mountains and rivers and grasslands, harassed every step of the way. Of the 86,000 who set out, perhaps 7,000 reached the caves of Yan'an in the north. It is called the Long March, and it makes Mao Zedong the unchallenged leader of Chinese communism. Then, Japan invades. In 1937, full-scale war erupts. Japanese troops sweep through China with industrial brutality. In Nanjing, over 6 terrible weeks, they massacre an estimated 200,000 civilians and prisoners, an atrocity China has not forgotten and will never forgive. By the time Japan surrenders in 1945, somewhere between 15 and 20 million Chinese are dead. The Civil War resumes immediately. Chiang has American backing, modern weapons, and the cities. Mao has the countryside, the peasantry, and a discipline that wins hearts as much as battles. By 1949, Chiang's armies are collapsing. He retreats to the island of Taiwan with his government and his gold. And on October 1st, 1949, in Tiananmen Square, Mao Zedong stands on the gate of heavenly peace and announces the founding of the People's Republic of China. The Chinese people, he declares, have stood up. But the road ahead is bloodier still. Mao's Great Leap Forward, launched in 1958 to industrialize China overnight, ends in the worst famine in human history. Conservative estimates put the death toll at 30 million. Higher estimates reach 45 million. Then, in 1966, Mao launches the Cultural Revolution. Schools close, temples are smashed, teachers are paraded in dunce caps. Children denounce parents. Ancient books, paintings, statues destroyed by Red Guards in the name of purification. For 10 years, China tears itself apart. When Mao dies in 1976, the country is exhausted, isolated, poor, and yet still standing. Within 2 years, a small, soft-spoken man, twice purged and twice rehabilitated, takes the reins. His name is Deng Xiaoping, and he is about to change everything. In 1978, Deng Xiaoping looks at a starving, broken country and says, in effect, "It does not matter whether a cat is black or white, as long as it catches mice." He opens China to the world. Special economic zones bloom on the coast. Shenzhen, a fishing village of 30,000, becomes a megacity of 17 million within 40 years. Foreign factories pour in. Farmers leave the villages and stream toward the cities, the greatest migration in human history. Over 800 million Chinese are lifted out of poverty. No nation has ever done anything like it. But not every door is opened. In the spring of 1989, students gather in Tiananmen Square, calling for political reform. For weeks, the world watches. And then, in the early hours of June 4th, tanks roll in. The number of dead has never been officially counted. China presses forward. Hong Kong returns from Britain in 1997. Macau from Portugal in 1999. China joins the World Trade Organization in 2001. In 2008, Beijing hosts the Olympic Games, and the entire world watches a country that only one lifetime earlier had been broken on its knees. Skyscrapers rise faster than anywhere on Earth. High-speed trains lace the country together. China builds artificial islands, lunar rovers, deep-sea submersibles, and a space station of its own. By the 2020s, it is the second largest economy on the planet, and, by some measures, the first. And yet, the old questions remain. The same questions the philosophers asked beside the warring states 25 centuries ago. How should we live? How should we be governed? What is the way? The dynasties are gone. The emperors are gone. But the mandate of heaven, in some quieter form, still hangs over the rulers in Beijing. Floods come, crises come. The people watch, and history watches with them. Because if there is one lesson 5,000 years of Chinese history teaches, it is this:
Walls rise
and walls fall. Capitals burn, and capitals are rebuilt. Conquerors come, and conquerors are absorbed. Dynasties end. Ideologies change. But China, patient, enduring, ancient as the Yellow River itself, China always returns. From a Stone Age village by a muddy river to the second largest economy on Earth. From oracle bones to satellites. From the first emperor's clay army to the soldiers of the People's Liberation Army. 5,000 years of dynasties and dragons, of poets and peasants, of golden ages and centuries of humiliation. China has been broken more times than any civilization should survive. And every time, it has put itself back together, older, stranger, and stronger than before. That is the secret of the Middle Kingdom. Not its walls, not its weapons, not its emperors, but its sheer, patient refusal to disappear. This was the entire history of China. If you enjoyed this journey through 5,000 years of human history, hit the like button, subscribe for more deep dives into the world's greatest civilizations, and tell us in the comments which country's full history would you like us to tell next. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.